this video we're going to finish off the remainder of our CRUD functionality. Now that we've got our application saving things into the database, we're going to look at retrieving that information into a table so that we can see all of our products that we've been added into our store. So in order to do that, we're going to create a new action, first of all inside our product controller. Now this action I'm just going to call list, so I'm going to go below this action here, which is for our create, and I'm going to create a new asynchronous action, so public async. It's going to be a task and it's going to return an iAction result, and we're going to call it list. This is going to list all the information out of our products table so we can see those products in a list. So this is a nice simple method to write. All we're going to do is return a view. We're not going to do anything special with this. We're going to wait for the action to complete before it displays our view, so we're going to use a wait here. So remember, we need to have, if we have an asynchronous function, we need to have a wait there too. So we're going to await the context returning our products, and I'm going to say to list, and it's going to be async. So now we've got that in place, you can see we've got a red squiggly line underneath our to list async, and we can see we've got the light bulb helper here, which is going to help us rectify this and fix it. Now I can use Visual Studio to help me fix this, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to click this down now on this light bulb helper, and it's just prompting me to add the entity framework core, which I'm going to do. So I'm just going to click that, and all that's done. We can see that error's now gone. If I slide to the top of this file, it's added in this line here, which we could have done manually, but the light bulb helpers helped us do that. So that's now our method written. So again, nice and simple, one line of code pretty much. Now we've got that, we're going to go into our product folder inside views, which is where we're going to create a view. I'm just going to duplicate this view here again, so I'm going to copy it, I'm going to paste it straight in there, I'm going to rename it, and it's going to match that method name, which I call list. So I'm going to call it list. I'm going to go inside there, just check up here that I'm inside that file. And I'm going to remove my form now, and I'm going to say in here product in system. That's just going to be the header that's going to display on the screen. I'm going to get rid of this class here, and I'm just going to change the container because I don't like everything being centered. What I'm going to do is grab that information from the product model and display it out onto the screen. So in order to do that, I'm first of all just going to create a table. Again, I'm going to use bootstrap styling in here, so this is just standard bootstrap styling. You don't have to do this, you can just create a standard table, that's fine. I'm going to create the heads, and in this we have a field called name, an RRP, a price and an RRP. I missed my row around that, so I'm just going to add that in. So that forms the header of my table. Now I'm going to move on to the body, and this is where we're going to start to use our razor syntax again to loop through all those products. So again, I'm going to start a razor block of code indicated with the @ symbol. I'm going to say for each, and we're going to look for items inside that model. So I'm going to say item in model, and then inside here what I'm going to do is add in what I'm going to spit out onto the screen. So this is going to be the rows in that table that are going to be automatically generated using my for each loop. So in this case I'm going to create a new table row, and this is going to be for each product as we add it, so we're going to need to add each other 3 fields now, so the name, the price and the RRP. So the next step is to add in my table data or my cells in this row. So in this case I'm going to start with the name, so I'm going to use razor syntax again, so starting with the @ symbol. I'm going to say HTML.display for, and it's going to be our model item, and we're going to say that we're going to use item dot, and then we have product ID. So this is matching our fields in our database. going to just duplicate this line for each of the items which I know I have in my model. So I have a price and an RRP. So what I'm going to do is just add in our product ID so we can see it's a different product. So I'm going to say product ID, and then I'm going to add in our name in here. So now I've got matching fields. I've got my product ID, my name, price and RRP. Product ID, name, price and RRP on both sides of that table. Okay, so that's just going to show the information back to me on the screen. Now there's something I've missed here, which is why I've got loads of these red squiggly lines here. So I'm going to go right to the top of this file, and I'm going to add a line which is going to load in my model and let me use the information in there without having to do anything special with it. So I'm going to say model, and it's going to be enumerable, and I'm going to say my application name, which is store.models. And then my table name, which is products, like so. Now that's going to allow me to use the data directly in products in this file here. So you can see all those squiggly lines have now gone. So this is now this file pretty much completed. There are some additional things which I'm going to add on shortly based on allowing us to edit this information and also delete records from this table. So we'll come back to this file shortly. But just to show you this now working, I'm going to run my IIS Express. Now remember, we're working in the product controller, so I'm going to go to product, and the method that we just created to list these products was just called list, so I'm going to say list. Okay, and now that it's loaded, we can see I have my 3 products in there. I've got my product IDs, my product name, the price, and also the RRP, which is all those products I added. So I can now actually go in and create a new product, come back into here, and we'll see the new product in this list. So far then, we've got the ability to add products, we've got the ability to list products or display products on the screen from that database table. The next thing we need to do is add the ability to remove a product or to delete a product. So in order to do this, I'm going to pop back into my controller, and I'm going to create a new asynchronous method or asynchronous action called delete. So I'm going to start with public async. Again, it's an asynchronous method, so we're going to wait for something to happen before we return. We're going to expect a result from this. We're going to call it delete, and inside here, this is something different we haven't seen so far. We're going to expect a parameter. Now that parameter is going to be numeric in that it's going to be the product ID we're going to pass in. So I'm going to expect a parameter, and I'm going to call that parameter just ID because it's nice and simple that way. After that, I'm going to create a simple if statement just to check that we do have an ID. If we don't, then there's no reason for us to do anything here. So I'm just going to say if ID equals null, then we're simply just going to return not found because we can't find that product, so there's no point trying or attempting to remove it. So I'm going to comment this. I'm just going to say check the product has been passed. So what I mean by this is we're checking that the product that we've passed an ID in order for this method to work. If you don't have an ID, there's no point even trying to execute any of it because it's going to be useless to us. Now you can see at this moment in time we've got a red squiggly line to delete. That's because again we haven't got an await method here just yet, or an await action, so we're going to add one of those shortly. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look for the product in the database. So we're going to say var product, which is just a variable name. This is where our await comes into play. So we're going to say await, we're going to use our context, and we're going to look for a product in the products table. We're then going to look for a single record or default. So what that means is if we get a result, then we get a result and we get the single record information, and if we don't, we're just going to get null. So we're going to say single or default and then async, like so. Now in there we're going to pass in some information. We're going to call this PID, just for product ID, and we're going to say PID dot product ID, and we're going to expect it to equal the ID that we're passing in as a parameter into this function. So that's going to check for our product. So now that we've checked for the product, we need to make sure that the product exists, so we actually have something there to deal with. So we're going to do that with a simple if statement. We're just going to say if product, and that's all we need to do. We could also say if product equals null. So we'll do that. We'll say if product equals null. Again, we're going to return not found. So we're checking that that we actually have a product being returned. If the product isn't found, again, there's nothing more we can do here, so we're going to redirect out of there into a not found page. Now, if we're happy with the product, we're going to reach this point in the method now where we can actually start to deal with the product. So we're just going to remove it straight away from the database. Now, the important thing is we don't have any confirmation of this removal. So we're not prompting for removal. This is going to remove the product straight away. So the next thing we need to do here is just run our database context again. So underscore context in our case. And then we're going to say we're going to remove a product, so product.remove. And then the product that we're going to remove is in our product object. So I'm going to say product, like that. So this is now going to remove the product from the database. Now we're also going to just make sure that this change is saved. So we're going to follow that up with context.save changes async, which we've seen before as well. And that's going to make sure that that change is saved. Now I've added in a wait here because we want to make sure that the product's been removed and then we want to commit the changes. So I've added a wait there. And then what we want to do finally is just redirect them back to that list so that we can see that that record has been removed. So we're going to say redirect to action. We're going to use the name of again. And then we're going to redirect back to the list. And that's going to bring us back to this same page once that product has been deleted. So we've now got our delete method in place. We just need to tweak our list view, which is where we had all our products coming out into a table, to add in that functionality so that we can click a button and it's going to delete the product. So I'm going to go back into my list view. I'm going to add an additional column just called actions, and I'm going to add an additional TD onto the end of here, which is what's going to store my link to delete the product now. So to delete the product, there's one simple thing we need to do, and it's just to add what's called an ASP link or an ASP syntax based link. So we're going to say A, and then it's going to be an ASP action. We're going to be deleting because that's the name of the method. The ASP controller we're going to be using is products. And then what we need to do is pass in that ID for this product. So to do that, we're going to say ASP root and then ASP root and then ID, and we're going to say at items, this is related to syntax again, and we're going to pass in the product ID. I'm then going to just close that A or that anchor tag so we can see I'm now inside the closing tag and the opening tag, and in there I'm going to add in the word remove. So now if I run my application, I should have the ability to remove that product from the database. So we're going to go back to our product list, and we can now see we've got a remove link. So let's say I want to remove test at the top here, so it's product ID 1002. So if I click remove, you can see it's gone to products/delete 1002. That's because I've given it the wrong action name, so I'm just going to stop my app just 1 second. I'm going to pop back into my list.cshtml, and I'm going to change, because it wasn't products, it should be product. So get rid of that and run the app again. So product/list. So again, I've got my products here. I've got 1002 test, £11 and 18.99 is the RRP, which is our product called test. I'm going to click remove, and you can see that product's now disappeared from my products in the system. So that's the delete taking place. So that's now the ability to add products, the ability to list products, and the ability to delete products. So the next thing in line is to be able to edit an existing product. To edit a product, we're going to add some additional code into our controller again. So we'll start there. So we'll go back into our product controller. Now we're going to create a new function again, or a new method. This time we're just going to call it edit. So public, going to be an asynchronous function once again. We're going to perform a task, and that task is going to demand a result. Just like before on the delete action, we're going to be passing in a parameter. It's going to be of type integer because it's going to be a product ID again. So we're going to say int and we're going to call it just ID again. Okay, so now we've got that, we're going to just grab this code from before. So we're going to check that we have a product being passed again, otherwise there's no point doing anything with that. So that means that if we don't have an ID, then we're going to return a not found page. Once we've got that, the next thing we need to do is get our product. So again, we can steal that code. So I'm just going to grab this whole line here. So in this case, we're going to get our product information. And then we're going to make sure, again, that's not blank. So again, I can steal this here. So again, that whole start, that function's pretty much exactly the same at the moment. After that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to return a view. So I'm going to return an edit form with the data for the product in. So to do that, it's just return view, but inside the parameters I'm going to pass in my product, which is here. So that's it, that's now my function written for my edit. Now again, what we're going to do is we're going to tag this function up just to make sure that we only use this for a get method. So what I mean by get is we're not sending any information to the server, we're just requesting it in this case. So we're going to add a tag onto this called http get, and that's it. So now what we need to do is create a view for this. So what I'm going to do, just to be really quick with this, is I'm going to copy my create, because that already has my fields in for the product. I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call it edit. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to link my model to this file. So the model for the data that we're going to be editing. So in this case, it's our products model. So I'm going to start with at model. I'm going to say store.models and then .products, like so. Okay, from there we're going to edit this begin form tag because we want to post it to the edit method when we make any changes. And then now what we're going to do is tweak these values so that we get the information back from the database. So to do that, we're going to use Razor to help us with that. We're going to say Razor display form. We're going to use our model, and we're going to use our model, and we're going to get the data from this model to display. So we're going to start off with model.name. I'm then going to duplicate this, and I'm going to pop it into each of these other fields, but I'm going to change them to get price and RRP, which map with the corresponding fields. I'm just going to save this template and close it and just reopen it just to get rid of some of these errors that displaying. And we can see that we've now got a valid file. Now for some reason we get those squiggly lines because I've copied and pasted a template, so it gets confused. So that's the reason why I've closed it and reopened it. So we can now see all the errors have gone in that template. Now if I launch my app now, we're going to go and have a look at what products we have in the database first of all. So I'm going to show you that table view again. And then we're going to go and try and edit a product by entering the URL directly into the address bar. So I'm going to start off with our product list. So /product/list. So this is our products here. So I've got a product by the ID of 1003, which is going to be Woody. So Woody is £10 and his RRP is £30.20. So to edit Woody, what I can do is say edit and then / and then I'm going to pass in the ID, which is 1003, which is Woody's product ID. Okay, we can now see that I get Woody, £10 and £30.20, and you can see my header's wrong on this file, but you can see the URL is product/edit/1003. So I'm going to make some changes now in the app just to make things a bit tidier. So I'm going to say edit product. I'm going to get rid of this text center because it's not very tidy. Change that to a container. And the next thing I'm going to do is go back into my list view. I'm now going to duplicate this line here. So I'm going to grab this anchor tag. I'm just going to format the code ever so slightly. So I'm going to be inside the same cell for actions. Now I'm going to paste in that action, and I'm going to change the action, and it's going to be called edit in this case. We're still using the same controller, we're still using product. We're going to pass in the product ID, and I'm going to change the visual representation of that to edit as well. And in between this, I'm just going to add in in between this I'm just going to add in a pipe symbol so we can see that there's a separation in the links. Now again, if I go to my application now, I'm going to view that list view, and now I should have an edit link in place. So product, I'm going to list them all, and you can now see I've got remove and edit. So I'm going to edit Woody again. So click on edit, brings me straight into my edit product screen with Woody's information, his price and his RRP. So there are a couple of other changes. So for example, the saving product now needs to be save updates or something like that. So we can go ahead and tweak that, and then what we're going to do for the final part of today is to actually save these changes to the database. So I'm going to go ahead and close my app. I'm going to tweak that button first of all. So I'm going to go into my edit form, and I'm going to change this and just say save changes. And that's going to just change the text on that button for me to make it a bit clearer. The next thing I'm going to do is pop back into my product controller. So I have my HTTP get method for edit. Now I need to add my HTTP post method for edit. So now back in my controller, I'm going to create my update functionality or my save functionality. Now it's going to have the same method name, but this time we're only going to accept the HTTP post. So we're going to start off by writing this. It's going to be asynchronous again. Have the same name. In this case we're going to be accepting an integer as an ID being passed in. We're going to bind the fields again. We're going to have a product ID, a name, price, and also an RRP. And then we're going to create an instance of this, so products, which is going to be called a product. Now create my curly braces. So inside here I'm going to check to make sure I'm getting an ID being passed in again. So the first thing I'm going to do is just grab this and paste it in, save me typing that out. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check that my model state is valid. So that means that what I'm trying to put into the model is what's accepted. So I'm going to start with an if statement. I'm going to say model state dot is valid, and then inside here I'm going to write a try catch statement. So I'm going to say try and then catch. Now inside the catch I'm just going to throw an error, so I'm just going to write throw in there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to update this product with the information that's been sent to me. So I'm going to use my context to do that. I'm going to use the update, and I'm going to pass in the product information. Now I need an await for this function because it's asynchronous, so I'm going to say await context, and we're going to await the save taking place into the database. So that means that information is committed to the database. So context, save changes, async, and that's now my update in place. Now what I am going to need to do is once this has taken place, I'm going to need a redirect to happen. So outside of this try, so at the bottom here what we're going to do is redirect back to the list. So I'm going to do a return. We're going to redirect to an action. That action is going to be in the same control that we're currently in. I'm going to redirect them to the list action. Now, if none of this takes place, so if my model isn't valid, we're just going to redirect them. We're not going to redirect. If this isn't valid, all we're going to do is return the view with the information in. So we're going to say return view and then the product information, so that we'll just come back to the edit screen again. Now I've got pretty much the whole base of my function written. I just need to add in my annotation to this, and we're only going to be accepting a post request. So now if I run my app, I should be able to go in and tweak a product's details. So I'm going to list my products, so products list. And I'm going to edit Woody, and I'm going to change it to bullseye. Now that I've got this in place, I'm just going to quickly go back and tweak the form, just because we need to make sure we're saving on top of something existing. So to do that, I'm going to add a hidden input. So input type equals hidden. Its name is going to be product ID, and the value is going to be the existing product ID, so we can get that fairly easily. The value is going to be the existing product ID, so we're going to use razor syntax again to get this for us, except for we're going to be pulling out the product ID. I'm going to list out my products. And I'm going to edit bullseye at the bottom here, and I'm going to change it to Mr. Potato Head. I'm just going to make some further changes to Mr. Potato Head, just to show that these are actually working, these changes are saving. So I'm going to change his price to £7 and his recommended retail to £10, and just click save. We can now see Mr. Potato Head has a price of £7 and an RRP of £10. Now I can go in and change Buzz if I wanted to, so let's set his price at £10. So we're editing Buzz. You can now see that Buzz has been updated as well. So that, at the end of the day, is now our read functionality, our create functionality, our update and our delete functionality all sorted. Thanks for watching today. Remember to subscribe and like this video.